First up on the bulletin, let's get you some big breaking news which is coming in, and this is reflective of the inherent misogyny in the mindset. Well, there's an actress, Gouri. She found herself in the spotlight after a reporter asked an inappropriate question to her about her weight, asking what the weight could be. During a press conference, all of this happened, and this at a time when she was promoting her upcoming film in Chennai. There were others there present on the stage with her. The incident, which occurred just days before the movie's 7th of November release, quickly went viral and sparked widespread conversations about sexism and the challenges that female actors face in public spaces. Well, earlier in the week, the same journalist had asked Gouri's co-star Aditya Madhavan about her weight, referencing a scene in which he had to carry her. At that moment, then Gouri didn't respond. But yesterday, after the film's press screening, she confronted the question head-on, refusing to let it slide. Here's how the confrontation panned out. Shameful, the way that there were men in that room who were trying to silence Gouri, saying, let's not make too much of it. But kudos to this young actor. She stood her ground and said, stop the body shaming. If you want, speak about my work, my talent, my role, my film, not my weight. Well, Times now has spoken to Gouri Kishan about this entire incident. In fact, she didn't mince her words. She has landed a square blow, clearly saying that what happened to her was gaslighting and body shaming. That she also questioned about what her weight was, saying that it was wrong, it was downright disrespectful. The actor also said that she felt disappointed about the fact that there was complete silence in the room during this entire exchange. She was in a room full of men. She was the only woman, not one man there stood up for her. That's the problem. Listen in to this brave girl who faced misogyny and brought it down.
Last week at a press meet, the question was to the actor that, there's a sequence where you're picking her up. Since it's a romance, there's a romantic track as well. And how much does she weigh, weight, and which was a very distasteful comment. And it just was laughed off by everybody at the press, and including whoever was with me, because nobody knew how to react. And by the time I processed it, they had gone on to the next one. But I remember coming back and feeling very regretful for not having spoken up, because tomorrow he's going to do that again to another actress, which is really undeserving and extremely uncalled for. And as I was in an interview, candidly, when I was asked the same question, I told my actual reaction to it, which was the backlash that happened yesterday. He had seen this interview and he said, it was almost like, oh, you're talking about journalists in a bad light. I have 35 years of experience in the field, and it almost seemed like it gives him the power to say whatever it is and whatever he feels like, with no respect, with absolutely no regard and no relevance at all. How is my weight related to anything? Even if I was not a part of the industry, nobody is allowed to comment on your body. It is a personal choice.
Let me go across to Dharani. Dharani, kudos to this young woman who stood up against body shaming and the gaslighting which has happened to her. One would imagine that people would get, or anyone would get, intimidated in a room full of men who are trying to silence her. So it is important that women like her show by example, and that's exactly what she did. But what has been very shocking in all of this is how every man in that room stood there, either silently or else even trying to shush her. That perhaps is the biggest problem.
Well, Gouri Kishan was promoting her recent film Others, and this exchange happened between her and the YouTuber yesterday. This is an almost 15-minute exchange, and what we can see is blatant sexism and chauvinism in display. The YouTuber, despite being called out for his inappropriate questioning, he keeps telling that it is a regular question, it is an interesting question, and he in fact demands an apology from Gouri Kishan for insulting him. That is the kind of response that we're looking at from this YouTuber who explicitly displayed sexism and chauvinism. And of course, we have to appreciate for the way Gouri stood up for herself. And, in addition to that, we also have to call out the men who were in that room. That room had almost 30 to 40 men is what one can understand. And, not even one man in that room came in support of Gouri. For almost 15 minutes, this exchange was going on. And she was, led to protect herself. She was led to defend herself. Not even one person, one individual in that room stopped that exchange and questioned the YouTuber about the inappropriate questioning. They were all remaining silent, and this is very disappointing because we're living in 2025 and in a room full of men, there's one female actor who's sitting in the middle and she's being questioned about her weight, and there's nobody else in that room who is ready to stand up for that female actor. So it's very disappointing, but we have to appreciate the way Gouri stood up for herself. She has not minced the words while describing this entire incident. She calls it body shaming, she calls it gaslighting, and she says that when she spoke there, she spoke not only for herself but also for the entire women community.
Absolutely. She not just spoke for herself, but for the entire nation, for all the young women out there and every woman who has been body shamed or gaslighted. This is the response coming in from a fierce, strong woman who's reached where she has reached because of her talent. Brinda Adige is joining us, an activist. Brinda Adige, but it's unfortunate, 21st century, and we still have to have these conversations. Women actors are asked these questions, but never the men.
You're absolutely right. We are talking of a century where accomplishments, achievements of women are no less than men in every sphere of life. And we are still talking about body shaming and gaslighting. And we have very few women who actually come up and speak about it. In an age which is, communications are sophisticated, yet we have very few women coming out and talking about it. Not only is this gaslighting and body shaming despicable, because often we see that it is happening by men. What is this insecurity that men are suffering? When would they want to be empowered? Because for too long, I think we've been talking about women's empowerment and forgotten men all along. Actually, it is the men who require that kind of empowerment to learn and understand and accept that women are equal.
Brinda Adige, you've raised a very important point. It's important that when we use the term feminism, it should not be restricted to women. Anyone, regardless of their gender, even if it is a man, can be fighting for women's rights. And that's one of the biggest barriers that needs to be broken down. Would you agree?
You're absolutely right. We keep constantly talking about men allyship because feminism is not saying that women need more rights. Feminism says treat men, women, and all other transgender persons equally. That is our birthright. And so having men joining us in this battle is but the right thing. I cannot understand why anybody thinks that feminism is to be fought only by women alone. Women have raised these issues, and male allyship is very, very important. Men must become our allies, our friends, and our partners in this battle for equity and equality.
I absolutely agree with you. There needs to be a partnership. A partnership against misogyny, a partnership against sexism, which has been normalized. But Brinda Adige, do stay on with us. We'd also like to remind our viewers that it's not just Gouri who's fighting this kind of objectification of women. You'd be shocked to know there are those across the world as well.